Hello, children. In the last class, I started ecosystem and I have taken general introduction and who is the father of this ecosystem and who gave this word ecosystem. And after that, I also explained what is the structure of the ecosystem and what is the composition of ecosystem. That means I explained about biotic components and also abiotic components, whereas in the structure I explained about standing state, standing crop, and stratification and species composition and all. Hope you understand that class. Now we will start the next topic of ecosystem, that is functioning of an ecosystem, how it is functioning. So it includes the functioning, it actually includes productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and cycling of nutrients. We will read it by the name of biogeochemical cycles. Today, I'll try to finish the first two topics, that is productivity and decomposition. Whereas energy flow, it is a very big topic. It takes minimum two classes. And this cycling of nutrients, it is again a little small only. We can finish it in one class. At least we will try to finish it in one class. So today we will start productivity and also decomposition. But first we will take productivity. Yes, here is the productivity. Productivity basically means the rate of biomass production. That means I'll tell you, let us take one plant is there. That plant, it is having leaves. But for our understanding, we will take only one leaf. And this one leaf, we will consider it is unit area. Please understand, we will take a plant and that plant it consisting of so many leaves, and for our understanding we will take only one leaf so that you can easily understand. Now we will consider this one leaf as unit area. Now obviously the leaf it consisting of chlorophyll, so that it can be able to get the sunlight. Whenever it get the sunlight, it participate in the vital activity called as photosynthesis. By this vital activity called as photosynthesis, it can be able to prepare its own food material, है ना? So now the amount of food material or organic compounds which can be able to synthesized by the organism, here the organism is plant, by the organism in the given area in the given time, that is called as productivity. Hope you understand. Now we will read it and then you can clearly understand little more. The rate of biomass production, that means how much amount of biomass it is produced, that is the rate at which the sunlight it is captured by the producer for the synthesis of energy rich organic components. That means kitna amount of sunlight it has taken in one unit area. That means here the unit area is leaf, and by taking that particular or by utilizing that particular sunlight, how much amount of the organic components, that means carbohydrates, that means I'm talking about leaf, it produces the food material in form of glucose, and glucose it obviously turns into starch. So I'm using the word carbohydrates, please don't get confused. So kitna amount of food material it is produced in the unit area by utilizing the sunlight as a source of energy, that is called as a productivity. Hope you understand, students. But still, if you have doubts, you please ask me again, I will explain it. Such productivity, it is again of two types. The first one is primary productivity and the other one is secondary productivity. Now we will start the first one. Primary productivity means the amount of biomass or the organic matter produced in the unit area in a given time by the vital activity called as photosynthesis. Such primary productivity, it is again divided into two types. The first one it is called as gross primary productivity and the next one is net primary productivity. Did you notice one small thing? Here primary productivity and productivity, the definitions are same. Did you notice it or not? I don't know, but basically the productivity starts from primary productivity, and then it go to the another form that is called as secondary productivity. That is the reason why, whether you observed it or not, I don't know, but productivity and primary productivity के लिए I give the same definition. This you need to understand. Now, primary productivity means, just now I told, the amount of biomass an organism can be able to prepare, an autotrophic organism can be able to prepare in a given time in the given area. Then that is in the given area means per every leaf, I can say. You understood? Now, this primary productivity, it is again of two types. The first one is gross primary productivity, which is simply you will consider it as GPP. That means gross primary productivity. Whereas the next one, it is what? Net primary productivity. Simply NPP, net primary productivity. Now let us take gross primary productivity. That means the total amount of the organic food material that is produced by that particular plant body is, or in the given time in the given area, then that is called as gross primary productivity. That means kitna amount. I'll tell you one easy way. Definitely will understand. You never get confused. Let us take one leaf is our unit area, and given time is from morning around 5 o'clock to evening 5 o'clock. That means we can say we have taken 12 hours. Now the unit area is leaf, and the given time is 5 morning 5 to evening 5. Now the plant, it started absorbing the sunlight, and in the presence of the sunlight it started preparing the food material. Now by this sunlight, when it started producing the food material in this 12 hours, just imagine, I am telling this only for your understanding, it produced 10 grams of glucose. That means 10 grams of organic food material. That means this is a total 10 grams of food material which is produced in the given area. That means given leaf or taken leaf in the given time. That means morning 5 to evening 5. That means 12 hours duration. Then the complete organic food material is called as gross primary productivity. Now you understood? Hope you understood. I think so. Now the next one, it is net primary productivity. What is this net primary productivity? Now again go back to gross primary productivity. In the given example, whatever I mentioned just 2 minutes or 3 minutes back, I clearly mentioned in the given time in the given area 10 grams of glucose is produced. इधर तक आपको समझ में आया? I think so. Now in the 10 grams of this glucose, at least 4 to 5 grams of the glucose, it will be utilized by the plant by itself, because it need to get some energy, and energy, any organism, it will get it by respiration. So if it wanted to get some energy, it obviously need to utilize the food material what it has synthesized. Are you understanding it or not? Again I'll tell, then you will clearly understand. Out of this 10 grams of glucose, at least 5 grams of glucose, it will be utilized for its own energy production, and remaining 5 grams of glucose, it will store it for future use. Now net primary productivity means the amount of food material left after utilization of the completely formed food material में कितना amount of food material it is utilized for the respiration. Then that leftover food material, after using some amount of food material for respiration, that is called as a net primary productivity. That means net primary productivity means gross primary productivity, that means 10 grams, that means the total amount of the food material formed, minus, let us take for the respiration, that means for energy production, it utilized 5 grams, that means 10 minus 5 is equal to 5 grams are left. That remaining 5 grams, it is called as a net primary productivity, or GPP is equal to, that means I am just reversing it, NPP plus R, that means net primary productivity plus respiration. So this is a simple equation for this net primary productivity and gross primary productivity. Hope you understand. Now I'm very happy for you students, because many of you, they're asking doubts. I really encourage and really appreciate from the students. I'm really happy for you. But still, if you don't understand single word also, immediately you post me. I will keep on answering that particular questions whenever I see. Now this is a general information. Students, don't worry about this particular block. That's why I completely separated it. Did you notice it or not? I completely separated this particular points. This is just, I'm giving you some piece of information, like I can say, some general knowledge I'm giving you. The annual net primary productivity of this complete, the whole biosphere, it is approximately 170 billion tons. Now, out of this 170 billion tons, just oceans alone, they contribute 55 billion tons. Now, usually very deep lakes, they have very less productivity. Hope you know, because the deep lakes may, you can't be able to see the light penetration. When there is no light penetration, obviously you can't be able to see the photosynthesis. That's why in a very deep lakes, the least productivity is seen, and also phosphorus is absent in that particular deep lakes. Now, the next one is land highest productivity can be seen in tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest may you can be able to see good availability of water, good availability of temperature. So all are available article in a plenty manner. That's why the highest productivity can be seen in a tropical rainforest, whereas lowest productivity can be seen in deserts and tundras. Why? Because the deserts may extreme hot climatic conditions will be there, whereas tundras may you can be able to see very less climatic conditions, that means temperature conditions. That's why both of them, that means high temperature also and low temperature also, do not favor the productivity. That's why lowest productivity can be seen in deserts and tundra. Now let us take the last piece of information, that is most productive agro ecosystem. Hope you know what is agro ecosystem. That means man created it in form of agriculture. This agro ecosystem, most productivity can be seen in sugarcane crop and rice ecosystems. So hope you understand. And again, just for safety sake, I am telling you, this is a kind of information I am giving you, so that you can understand the productivity well. But by reading these points, you don't get any extra benefit. Thank you so much. Now let us take the next one. Today, as I already clearly mentioned, I wanted to take two steps: productivity and two functions. I'm sorry, I mentioned steps. Two functions, that is productivity and decomposition. I completed productivity. Now I am going to take one more function, that is decomposition. I think every one of us know what is decomposition. This is a very simple question. This is a process of breakdown of the complex organic matter to simpler inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients. Not every time. Sometimes it remains as humus also. Here I forgot to mention. So please understand. So the basically decomposition means this is the process of breakdown of complex organic matter. That means I'll tell you, one organism is dead. Let us take one plant is dead. Due to heavy rainfall, it is broken and it started decomposition. When it is broken, this consisting of the organic matter, that means it consists of complex nutrients such as carbohydrates, amino acids, fats, nucleic acids, like that. In the plants, completely you can be able to see the what I call complex organic matter. Now Slowly after few days, you can see some fungus and also some lichens and also some this bacteria, decomposing bacteria, they start feeding on that particular plant. Now when these particular bacteria, when these fungi and also these annelids like earthworms and nematodes, they start eating this decomposing this particular plant. Now this organic material, it slowly converts into inorganic such as carbon dioxide and water and mineral nutrients like carbon, like nitrogen and also sulfur and also phosphorus. Like that they start breaking into small units. So this process of breakdown is called as decomposition. I think I've taken a good example so that you understood well. Now, detritus. Detritus means the raw material which is undergoing this decomposition. For example, one organism is dead. Let us take when you are passing on the when you are driving car by mistake, some butterflies. Usually, some insects will come and hits our what do you call this. Glass, and they will die. Now they will fall. When they fall, usually they will be decomposed. That means this is dead organisms. Whereas when what do you call heavy rain it happened, then trees get broken. Then this broken trees, they are starting this decomposition. That means these are raw materials. All these raw materials are called as detritus. Hope you understand. And the organisms which are participating in this decomposition, they are called as detrivorous organisms or detrites. Hope you understand. I'm sorry, I used a very wrong word. It's not detritus. Detrivorous organisms or decomposers. I'm sorry for using a wrong word. Now the process of decomposition. See, this process of decomposition, it includes five important steps. The first one is fragmentation, the second one is leaching, the third one is catabolism, fourth one humification, and the last one is mineralization. Now let us take the first one, that is fragmentation. In the name itself, I need not to tell anything more. Fragmentation basically means the mechanical breakdown of any large substance into small particles, then that is called as fragmentation. So detrivores, as I clearly mentioned, the organism which is decomposing any detritus, that is called as detrivore or a decomposer, as I clearly mentioned it. So these detrivores like some earthworms or some nematodes or some caterpillar larvae, like that, whatever it may be, the detrivores, it break down this particular detritus, that means raw material of decomposition to small particles. This mechanical breakdown, it is called as fermentation. I'm sorry, fragmentation. Hope you understand. Now the next one, it is called as leaching. Leaching means the water soluble in organic nutrients go down into the soil and gets precipitated as unavailable salts. That means what happens, these soluble inorganic nutrients, they go into deeper layers of this what do you call soil, and they becomes even unavailable to the plants also, and that particular portion, it is called as leaching. And the next one is catabolism. Catabolism is, it's a chemical conversion of detritus into small inorganic substances by bacterial and fungal enzymes. That means any bacteria or any fungus, when they are feeding on this particular dead organisms, now they release a certain enzymes to digest them. So when they are releasing certain enzymes to digest them, these what I call organic matter, it will be converted into simple inorganic substance, and that is due to a chemical conversion. That means by utilizing enzymes, they did this conversion. That's why we are describing it as chemical conversion, and that is called as catabolism. Now, humification means it is a decomposition which leads to the formation of colloid organic matter. That means not completely digested organic matter. That means I can say partially digested organic matter, and that only you are calling it as humus, where this humus is extremely slow decomposing, and it is a dark colored, and it is highly resistant to microbial action. And being colloidal in its nature, that means partially digested in its nature, it acts as a good reservoir for many nutrients. Now, mineralization basically means the further conversion of this particular humus or any other detritus to minerals such as carbon dioxide, water, and mineral nutrients such as nitrogen, sulfur, iron, molybdenum, like that. If into such an inorganic form, if the decomposition it is taking place, then that is called as mineralization. Hope you understand these steps. And now we will read one image of NCRT so that you can get an idea. So this is a tree. Now this tree, it is growing obviously in the soil. Trees means obviously they grow in soil. Now some leaves are shed off on the, like they are fallen on the ground due to aging or due to some other birds, some whatever it is, they are fallen. Now they will be eaten by this particular some worms, are they will be digested by this particular what you call fungus, and they will be further eaten by this particular worms, and finally some organic rich material it is added into the soil, or as directly the humus it is added into the soil. Whereas this all nutrients, it will be again it is utilized by the plant. That means it is a cyclic. That means, see here, the plant part only it is shed off, and that only it is converted into either what you call humus or into directly minerals. But finally again humus or even inorganic substances, they're again getting utilized by the plant itself. So it is a cyclic process, and this is only called as a cyclic process of nutrients. So cyclic exchange of the nutrients from biotic to abiotic, and again abiotic. That means from the plants to this particular soil, that means biotic to abiotic, and again from the soil to this organism, that means abiotic to biotic. So this is how these minerals keep on exchanging from abiotic to biotic, and vice versa, so that these nutrients they never get scarce what you call scarcity in this particular nature. For example, one organism only eating, it is not releasing anything out in form of excreta or in the form of death, because by death also these particular body it again get converted into nutrients and dissolved in the soil. That means either not dying or either not excreting. Then what happens, one day will come where all these nutrients will be exhausted in this particular world. That means a world it is completely deprived of these particular nutrients, so you can never be able to see the further development of this particular earth planet. That's why organism who are eating this particular food material, they need to excrete, and they also need to die after aging, after 60, 65 years or 70 years. Organism tend to, it's like accepted fact. Of course, whether we can accept or we can't accept also, this is actually nature rule. By default we have to die, and when we die we get decomposed, and then these particular nutrients are again getting dissolved into the soil, and again they will be utilized by the biotic components. So hope you understand. Now this is students, this is a straight NCRT image, so you can get it even in NCRT book also. Now let us take a simple a general like flow chart जैसे मैंने बनाया. Now this is a detritus by they are undergoing decomposition by the following steps. I already told you 5 steps are there in that: fragmentation, leaching, and catabolism, whatever the process, or all the 3 process together. And finally you can be able to see the last step, that is humification, and the last step it is mineralization. For example, if they are getting partially decomposed, then it undergoes humification and it turns into humus. No, they are undergoing complete decomposition, like finest level decomposition, then they get converts into this carbon dioxide, water, and some mineral nutrients such as sulfur, iron, molybdenum, etc. Now, such humus, it is of two types. Again, this is again a piece of information I am giving you. You need not to remember this, because as I am explaining it, for your understanding sake, few extra things also I need to explain. That's why whenever I am explaining extra, students, this is only for your understanding, and don't read this. Don't no need to remember this. I am clearly telling. So please focus on the important things, and remaining things just read it for your general or basic understanding. Now this is such a kind of humus which is formed by the humification. It is of two types. The first one is more, and the second one is mul. What is mole? More means it is a raw humus which is usually formed in acidic soils. Why? Because in acidic soil, the acidic nature is more. Due to the high acidic nature, the detritus, that means the decomposers, that means this particular bacteria and also this particular fungus, they cannot be able to grow because the soil is highly acidic. That is the reason why here the decomposition, it is taking place not completely, that means partial decomposition only taking place. So this partial decomposed humus, it is called as more. See, I clearly mentioned coarse textured humus, that means they are not completely digested. Hope you understand. And this decomposition of litter is slow because it has a less number of decomposer organisms. Why? In the first point itself I clearly mentioned, it is acidic soil. So students, it is acidic soil. That's why acidic soil do not favor the growth of this particular decomposer organisms. That is the reason why the decomposition do not takes place in a full length, in a complete way. That's why it is a partially digested humus. Now, fully digested, completely decomposed litter is called as humus, which is called as fully formed humus, and that is called as mul. And this mul, it is taking place. See, more it is taking place in acidic soils, whereas mul, it is taking place in basic soils or neutral soils. So in basic soils and neutral soils, this particular pH, it favors the growth of this particular decomposers. That's why the number of decomposers are more, so the humus, it is converting it to the finest level. That's why it is like, I can say, it is fully formed humus, whereas it is incompletely formed humus. Hope you understand what is the difference between more and mul. But this just for your understanding, you just read it once and then leave it. Okay. Now let us take, what are the factors that are influencing this what do you call it, decomposition. There are like 4 5 factors are there. I think 5 factors are there. They are first one is chemical nature of the detritus, and the next one is temperature, moisture, aeration, and the pH. I think now you understood what is pH. Just more and mole concept may you must have understood what is what do you call pH contribution and decomposition. But still, again, if we read again, you can be able to remember little more. Now the first one, what is the first one? Chemical nature of the detritus. Detritus, or the rate of this particular decomposition, it always depends upon the complexity of that particular what I call detritus. That means if very tougher substances are there, like lignin it is a very tough substance. Even chitin, it is a very tough substance. A cellulose is a very tough, and tannins are very tough. When so tough material is there, it takes prolonged duration for decomposition. But like simple organic components like nucleic acids and also some carbohydrates or some proteins or some fats are there, they're very easy to digest. So hope you understand. So the more toughness of the detritus, the more time it takes place for the decomposition, whereas the less complexity of this particular what do you call detritus, then less time for the decomposition. Now temperature, very important factor for decomposition. Usually the optimum temperature, it favors the decomposition. Not only decomposition, let us take our metabolism, our own body metabolism. It is favored by what? optimum temperature. So even decomposition, it is performed by the organisms only. But the problem is we are 5 feet 6 feet height, so we are visible, whereas these particular microorganisms are very very minute, you can't be able to see them, but they are also organisms, so they are also having metabolism, and their metabolic activeness is also depending upon the optimum temperature and optimum pH. So you understood. So optimum temperature, you can be able to see fast decomposition, whereas less temperature, obviously you can't be able to see that efficient or fast rate of this decomposition. Whereas that is the reason why now, for example, if you bring any leafy vegetables or any vegetables, you usually keep it in the fridge. Why? Less temperature, so the decomposition, it will be what I call it, delayed. For example, if you bring some spinach, now you keep it as such on the table itself, then what happens, it gets decomposed so easily. But the same spinach, you keep it in fridge for 2 days also, it remains fresh. I think you understand this logic now. The next one is moisture. Optimum moisture, obviously it helps quicker decomposition. For example, I'll give you a dry item like a suka item, completely dry, and obviously there is no moisture content. So when there is no moisture content, it need longer time for this decomposition. But the substances which are having, for example, dry laddu I'll give you, and gulab jamun I'll give you, and gulab jamun will be decomposed by evening itself, whereas a dry laddu, it can be able to stay for 5 6 days. See, that means in dry laddu, for example, I can say like a basin laddu, what happens, the moisture content is less. So what happens, the decomposition, it is taking delayed, it is going delayed. Whereas in gulab jamun rasmalai, what happens, more moisture content is there, that's why the fast rate of decomposition, quick decomposition is taking place. When I say food items, obviously you will understand. Hope you understood. I need not ask also again. Now, aeration. Obviously organisms need air to breathe, otherwise what happens, they cannot be able to breathe, they don't get this particular oxygen, so they cannot be able to participate in decomposition. So aeration means the proper availability of oxygen is 101% required for the organism to participate in the decomposition. And reduced aeration obviously reduces the decomposition. And pH. In more and more topic also I explained, acidic soil do not favor the growth of this decomposers. That's why in acidic soil the decomposition will be less. Whereas in basic soils and also neutral soils, they are the favorable pH condition for this microbe growth. That means decomposers growth. More decomposers, more fast rate of the decomposition. Now, you read this statement, warm and moist environment favors decomposition, whereas low temperature and lacking of this particular air, so that means less aeration, inhibits the decomposition. Hope you understand. So tomorrow's class, or in the next video class, I will explain about the next step of this particular, next function of this particular ecosystem, that is energy flow. Thank you so much.